Hey, Jacqueline.
Hey, Jen.
What are you listening to this week? Welcome to Season 8 of What Are You Listening To? The weekly podcast created to foster community through music by sharing the stories behind the songs that soundtrack our lives. Some of the songs are old, some new, all good. I'm Jenn Tully, and this week we're trying out a new segment on the show called Pop Culture Candy. My guest, Jacqueline Cimino, is here as more of a co-host than a guest this week. And together, we are going to dig into a show that has recently become part of the pop culture zeitgeist. And of course, I believe music is a part of what has made the show so popular. Jacqueline and I are here to discuss the music and themes in Hulu's Tell Me Lies. For those of you that haven't seen the show, there will be spoilers. So if you're planning on watching, maybe go take a beat here, watch the show, then come back to this episode. But for those of you that have, quick recap, the show follows a group of friends who attend a prominent upstate New York, East Coast university, fictitious university called Baird College. And the show begins when the friends all meet in school and then goes back and forth in time from their college days to 8 years in the future when they are all attending the wedding of two of the friends in the group. The relationships at times are supportive and at times way beyond toxic, but the fashion and the music stay on point. I asked Jacqueline to join me because she is almost as pop culture obsessed as me, maybe more. I don't know. We'll get into it. And she is certainly closer to her college days than I am. And I wanted to explore the music and themes in the show, again, which starts in 2008 and ends in 2015 from the perspective of two people with two very different college experiences. Which songs from the show do you think we're going to discuss? Tune into our conversation to find out. And in case our song picks are new to you, we'll publish a playlist with this episode so you don't miss a beat. With that, let's get started. Jacqueline, I'm so excited to have you co-host this episode with me. I mean, really, from the moment the idea popped into my head, you were the immediate first person that I'm like, I hope she loves this show the way I do because this is the gal I want to talk to about it.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm so excited. I do love this show. And I love relationships. I love talking about love. I love talking about the crazy. So I'm excited. I think it's gonna be
Yeah, this episode gives us a lot of rich content in that department too. So we have a whole lot to get into. But before we get into the music, let's set the stage for our listeners a little bit so they know where we're coming from. So I right now currently am 30 years out of college. I was 13 years out of college in 2008 when this show begins. Tell me how far removed from college life, especially undergrad, you are. You're pretty close, right? Pretty recent graduate.
Yeah. So I graduated in 2023 from undergrad.
Okay.
So I'm about 2.5 years removed. And then I graduated from grad school just like half a year ago.
Yeah.
So I was 8 in 2008. So I love this show because it was such a little drawback of what was happening.
Yeah. And I feel the same way. Even though I was out of college when the show began, quite a ways out, I actually had a 1-year-old in 2008, if I'm being honest. But I think that that's kind of why the show has captured so many people, right? And no matter what time period you lived in or went to school in, some of these themes are still so universal now. And it also explores things that I'm terrified of and we're so glad weren't around when I was in college, like social media, right? There are some really awful things that happen via social media in the show. And I can't even imagine what it was like for people that did grow up with a video being readily available of everything that they did. That had to be terrifying.
Well, I'm in the exact opposite boat. I'm like, girlfriends, we don't send the nudes on the phone anymore. We have learned from the millennials who really, they walk so we could run. And so they're going through this. And I'm like, this would just not happen today because I feel like we do live in such a different world. And I think one of the main things that we see in this show is the dynamic of friendship and just how friendship and expectations of friends have changed so much with I feel like in my generation, we aren't that toxic to each other. And if we are, we have the language now that's been normalized to talk about it. So it's crazy seeing what it was like before it was normal to be very like in tune with your emotions, to be very like to have the resources to like confront different scenarios, and for like drama just to not be as prevalent because so many more people talk about things constantly.
This makes me so happy to hear. Honestly, it makes me so happy to hear because I think a lot of the themes we didn't have the language. Like in some ways, I feel like some of the relationships that happen are even more advanced than my experience because they, I was so far removed from that time. So there was good and bad. But another reason I was dying to have you as my co-host for this episode because I just think there's going to be so much to dig into. So we promised that we would get into the music, so let's do that. And I think this conversation, this little tidbit that we're having, is a perfect segue into your first song. So tell me the first song that you chose. And we have, just again, listeners, to set the stage, there are 3 seasons of the show. It's over now. Megan Oppenheimer, the showrunner, like concluded it after this 3rd season. So it's also, if you haven't watched it, it's a nice little like quick 3 season. I think it's 26 episodes to like dig into. Once you start, you won't be able to turn it off. But the music kind of goes, it plays a prominent role throughout all 3 seasons. And so Jacqueline and I just sort of took a look at all 3 seasons of music and picked songs that we thought really nailed specific, scenes or personality traits or relationships within the show. And we kind of pulled those 6 songs out to talk about. So that's how we came up with this week's playlist, which is a little different than our normal "What are you listening to" format. But again, we're on a new segment, so we can do whatever we want.
I know, it's a new time to be alive.
New time. So tell me what your first song was, who sang it, and kind of where it figures into the show and why you chose this one.
Yes. Okay. So the first song I chose was "Crazy" by GNARLS BARKLEY. And this comes in the pilot. So I love that it came in the pilot and it sets the tone immediately. Love, it is a little crazy. Love is a little insane. But I also am in the boat that there's like good crazy and then there's bad crazy. And for this song particularly, it represents good crazy for me because it's like uplifting, it's exciting, it makes you feel good about things. It's not the "I'm throwing up over this guy, I'm psycho, I can't sleep, I'm going against my morals and values." So that's why this song like really spoke to me.
Totally. And I think that like I love that you call this out because I think that this is a great place to start, just because when you meet all of these characters, you're not really sure where it's headed, like it took me a minute to kind of figure out like, okay, what's happening here? I love that these characters are so complex and they have such a dynamic arc throughout the show. Most of them, like some of
and that's
them,
what you hope.
Yeah, it's what you want in life and in your relationships. But I also love too that you talk about, I know that when we were discussing like song picks or whatever, and you're like, I love this one because we've probably all done something like slightly unhinged in the name of love or intimacy. Like, what does that look like for like your generation? Like when I think of it, I think of things like, the driving past the house when you shouldn't have, or back in the day, we used to do the old prank call, like you'd like ring somebody's landline. And if they answered, like hang up real quick because you like had to know if they were home or not, because there was no such thing as like, find, where's my location? Or, like we didn't have any of that. So our unhinged was like a physical act that required, like we couldn't cyber sleuth, right? Like we would literally like hop in the car and drive by the house and like all of that. So tell me what that looks like for you, like in terms of like the crazy that, whenever you think of being a little bit unhinged in love.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I've definitely I still continue to have my unhinged moments in love, which is so exciting. I do love that for me. But I think we do still, I've walked by a couple of houses that I shouldn't have walked by. I've been to parties that I shouldn't have been to. And I think too, with the social media aspect of it, is that like we're prepping and planning. And I'm not only looking at your Instagram, I'm looking at your mom's Facebook. I'm looking at your Venmo history. I'm looking at your LinkedIn and your last 5 internships. So I truly think that you can just prep and plan a little bit more, which you would think would lead to like better scenarios. But I think it just leads for like more crazy at the end of the day.
Yeah, more getting into your head. And I think that that's one of the things about the show too, is like sometimes I wish these characters would just take a moment to like reflect. And again, this is like as a woman, as like a 50-year-old woman that is like, you guys, like pause. But did I pause for a second in my teens and 20s? Not ever. Never.
Okay. I think, and that's where I'm like, I don't relate to the show either, because, and maybe it's the school that I went to. I went to a small liberal arts school in California, in San Francisco. Yeah. So I think too, I'm just like, where is the support for one another? Like, I remember if somebody had like a crazy wild night, the next day we were eating breakfast together as like a group of girls. We were advocating. We were like, dude, like that was insane. And I just don't see that aspect of reflection in the show. I mean, it comes out here and there, but it's very like one-on-one conversations. But even in my little like dorm group, my friend group, we were constantly like, are you good? We're checking in on each other. And you just don't see that in the show, which makes them crazier.
Right. I totally agree. Yeah. That was something that I realized was missing too. And again, that was something that my generation were really cognizant of because, and it was for different reasons. Like I was growing up in college when like, Hypnol and the date rape drug and like all of those things were coming out. And so we had this message or this creed, like girl code, chick code among our friends that like, you never leave your girlfriend alone at a party, right? Like if we were at a party and we came as a group, like, and nobody was staying behind, if you wanted to hook up with a dude, he was coming back to our place or okay. We really monitored. And I'm like, where is that? Why are they letting this girl walk off with this person? You know?
No, I feel the exact same way. And it's like, I remember being my best friend, Michelle, God bless her. I love her so much. She's the most amazing person. She loved to stay out and I loved to stay in. And I would go and I would be like, okay, queen, you're leaving at 12 or like I'm picking you up and I'm dragging you out of here. Or the opposite where she's like, Jacqueline, I really need you to rally for me. It's going to be a 3 a.m. night. And I'm like, thank you for letting me know. You owe me McDonald's on the way home. So like this idea of just the individuality in the show, I think it is important, especially during college, to have those like individual moments. But college is also about community. And I think that maybe this is how the culture was in 2008. I just felt like the community aspect was part of my college experience every step of the way versus some things they're battling alone. And I never felt alone in college.
Yeah. Like some of the secrets that they keep in the show are things I never would have been able to keep from my friend group, you know?
No, spilling water left and right over here. Thank God that my friends are also yappers because I couldn't live in that kind of like secrecy. And like, I look at the different characters, like I look at Lucy, I look at Bree, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how are you guys eating? Like, I remember if anything dramatic happened, I was like, I can't eat. Today's going to be a bad day. So to constantly be going through that was insane to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was a really interesting aspect or choice in the show. That like, I was constantly like, girl, how are you sitting there and not spilling this? Like, this is insane. And I think it's a big reason for a lot of the breakdowns, right? Like they were carrying, they were internalizing so much. Like, where's that going to go except to like a very explosive place, right? There's just no other outlet. So I definitely I think the relationships in the show for sure get crazy. You know, the way no one holds Steven accountable, the lies they tell each other and themselves to rationalize bad situations, the cheating, like definitely crazy is a theme. And I think talking about like rationalizing bad situations, the cheating, the lies, all of that, I think that's such a nice like segue into your second pick too, which takes us down a little bit of a different path, but like I think we're gonna go deep with this song pick. So tell me about your second song pick, where it airs in the show, and kind of why this one mattered to you as a standout from the show.
Yes. So my second song pick, it's called Back to Black by Amy Winehouse. And this happens when the song plays when Steven and Diana are really just feel heavy in different ways. So it's just not about heartbreak.
Right.
It's that constant like abusing yourself. And that's what it is at the end of the day. Like it is self-abuse. And just going to like a toxic cycle one after another. And they just feeling alone in that toxic cycle.
Yeah.
I think that's crazy too. That's something that I wanted to kind of touch on is that I remember I would be in my own cycles with like different boys or whoever I was talking to, but my friends, I would be constantly communicating to them like, hey guys, this is what happened. Like they were getting play by play, stroke by stroke, what was going on in my life. And so even though I might have been in a cycle, I just didn't feel alone in it, I guess. And I always had somebody to kind of be like, hey, that's crazy supporting you from the sideline, but you're going through it right now, versus they're in this cycle just alone. And then when I wasn't in my cycle, another friend would be going through it. God always blessed us and made sure we had boy problems at different times. But I would be like, sister, I was just in that same cycle. And in the show, I think once again, because they have that individualism, they just don't talk about that the cycle of love and toxicity. It's normal. It happens. But it's normal and it happens because I talk about it. And if you're not talking about it, that's when it becomes truly like devastating to your life.
I totally agree. I'm so glad you called that out. And I've always said for years, like my closest friends, I think part of the reason that we all found each other is that we sort of live in each other's blind spots, right? Like
Yes.
I have friends that are 100% in my blind spots and they know the things that I can't see. And like still they've called it out since I was, some of these friends I've had since I was 15 years old and they've called it out since then and they call it out now. Like, and so I that was another thing. Like, and I don't know, I think I haven't watched this. It's funny too to have this conversation because I haven't watched like the official podcast that goes along with this, with the show that Stassi Schroeder does. I haven't watched it.
Okay. I've
seen like a couple of clips. Like there's one that I'll reference later that I love from Megan Oppenheimer, the showrunner. But yeah, I mean, I think that like part of it as well is that's also sort of Steven's plan as a narcissist and a master manipulator, right? Is to isolate Lucy and the others. Like he wants to keep them keeping secrets because like the jig is up as soon as he, as soon as people start telling the truth, especially about him, it all comes crashing down. So he wants to keep these people isolated. It's like classic abuser, right? Like he wants to keep them insular and not talking because his whole thing explodes whenever they start having conversations. You see it a little bit, I think as we get into season 3 and you see Diana and Lucy talking a little bit more. And one of my song picks, I think we'll probably get into this, but I often wonder, and again, maybe that's why I brought it up. Maybe it's revealed in the official podcast, but I wonder if that's part of the writing, right? Is that it sort of shows that intention of Steven to keep everyone isolated. And I mean, just while we're here and we're on the Amy Winehouse song, I think that we could have a whole episode just about Steven and that character and how like horrible he is.
I have a quick question. Did you ever have a Steven in your dating era?
I was thinking about this, like not to that degree, not somebody that was as diabolical as him, but yeah, certainly people that I knew were manipulating me. And I think like the thing that I think bugs me the most about Steven is he's obviously super power hungry, but he also gets off on humiliating people, right?
Yeah.
And it's like that humiliation piece that like really bugs the shit out of me. Like that's the part that like bums me out because we've all done it to the point that there's a term. Like if I say walk of shame to you, you know what I'm talking about,
exactly.
Right? And like, why is that shameful? It shouldn't be like, but it's the term that we all know. And I think that's what bothers me most about Steven is that he really gets off on this humiliation part of people. And for me, that's probably the single most uncomfortable emotion. Like I'd rather experience almost any other emotion than humiliation.
No, I 110%. I am so lucky, knock on wood. I have not dated a Steven, but I've seen Stevens out in the world. And I'm just like, everyone beware. And it's crazy. Just like like you said, like the shame, the embarrassment, the humiliation, and them just constantly like molding the narrative and molding reality. And so you're not living in true reality anymore. You're in someone's like fabricated reality. I see that happen to women, and you know, we see it in the show, people just constantly losing their sparks, like
Yep.
just losing yourself completely. And I think that this song does a really good job of just like encapsulating that these men are out in the world, and if you let it happen, they're gonna lure you back and back again. And that's where I feel like me as like a woman who's still dating and things like that, like, or you know, an active participant in my friend groups, I'm like, guys, like, watch out, like, don't let somebody take you back to black. Like, that's insane. Like, you really have to hold yourself down, but you have to hold your friends down, because like these guys are just out here like manipulating people.
Well, and red flag number one, like anybody that takes pleasure in your humiliation,
Insane.
bye.
But let's all talk about
Bye.
it. Let's talk about the Lucy masturbation scene to his voicemail.
Oh
Girlfriend!
my God.
Girlfriend.
No.
I mean, I could.
No.
I praise her for using ethical porn in her own way, but absolutely deranged. I've never felt more icky. And hey, we've all had to, you know, flick the bean, do a little DJ set. But when she pulled out that voice memo, I said, good Lord, that was absolutely insane.
I was so with you. Like, it was one of those moments where it was just so insane. It was heartbreaking.
Yes.
You're just like, what is going on? And I think, I mean, we'll get into this as we go down. There's so much to get into with Lucy. I mean, again, we could do a whole episode, I think, about each character. But before we leave Back to Black, I also, too, I want to talk about Diana just a second. Like, I feel like of all the people that, I feel like Back to Black, everybody has a moment with that. And Diana does too. You know, every character has sort of a Back to Black moment, but Diana as well. But I actually love her because I think she kind of represents the every woman, right? Like, Diana's like, she's special. She's smart. She's beautiful. She's rich. She's driven. She's honest, you know, eventually about her feelings and her love for Pippa, about how toxic her relationship was with Steven. But it amazes me, like, of all the people that I thought were going to take him down, I thought it was going to be Diana.
Yes.
Right. Like, I thought Diana was going to come around and be the one that finally took Steven down. And she just continues to let him off the hook. And I think it's because she's afraid of him.
Oh, 110%. And I also can see how easily she could let her own guilt prevent her from doing something. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so many times where I felt like she was just trying to protect herself. Like, she wasn't trying to mess with other people. She wasn't trying to get that much revenge. She was just trying to protect herself. And I think when you're just trying to protect yourself, you're always like, I don't want to stoop down to his level. You know what I'm saying? Women are constantly told, like, take the high road, like, don't push too far, like, just do what you need to do. And I feel like Diana also, like, encapsulated that, like, strong but not empowered.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I often think, like, if you're strong, you're automatically empowered. But you're right. She was strong, but she was not empowered, whether it was fear-based or whether she, like, ultimately, and also too, it's tiring, right? It is tiring to fight somebody all the time, whether it's, you know, and as women, I think we see it time and time again. You know, we're like, I can ask a question in a meeting 3 times and a man asks it and it gets acknowledged, you know, like shit like that. That's just like rote everyday shit that we deal with as women. And again, the same as like, there are plenty of women that like walked so I could run. I'm not like, and I hope I've done the same for future generations.
Exactly.
I know you are. Like, I think like all of those things are good. And that always like made me sad, I guess, a little bit about Diana.
Yeah.
I'm like, girl, you're the one that's like sane and can take this joker down. But her fear or her lack of empowerment, prevented her from doing that. So we had to have a Diana moment because I really do. She was one of my favorite characters in the show.
And shout out to her because everybody else is also losing all their marbles and she's getting to class. She's doing the internship.
Right.
I'm like, girlfriend.
Girl got into Yale and Stanford Law School.
Like, I barely got this paper submitted in college. Like, she's out here hustling and bustling while everybody else, it's like, are they even in class? Like, what is going on over here?
Yeah, like these people are such a shit show. Like, I don't even know how they're going to roll to class. That's right. And speaking of shit shows, let's roll right into your third pick because this song was so perfectly placed. I can't even. So tell me what your third pick was, who sings it, and why this song, sort of where it appears in the show and why you brought this.
Yes. So the final song, which was, in my opinion, the most iconic song, was Toxic by Britney Spears. And this is at the wedding. Like, in that wedding, iconic. Iconic.
Amazing.
No.
Amazing.
I cannot. In this song, it's so like glittery and seductive. It's fun. But the message underneath is absolutely so real, so valid, so dark. And exactly how toxic relationships work. Like, and they are enticing. That's why we're in them. And they're always going to blow up. So just like Toxic by Britney Spears did. So this song was absolutely iconic. I loved it. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, same. I mean, I thought whenever this song, like as soon as I heard their, you know, like it's got such a classic opening. I'm like, she didn't. Like, this is a brilliant use of music in film or television, like to completely say everything you needed to say. And you're right, the wedding is like so beautiful. It's so of the time. Like everything like screams 2015. Like but it's still so beautiful from the way they're wearing their hair to those bridesmaids dresses to the cake.
I know that Pinterest app was working hard that year.
For sure. And for like, you know, Bree's dresses and from her engagement party all the way up to the wedding. Like, I mean, so on point. Like, I, again, could do a whole other episode about just like the memories that the clothes brought back for me. But the wedding goes off the rails. Secrets are revealed. Friendships are ruined. Lives are like put on blast. Like the whole, I really don't think that you can have any other song playing except for this. And what it also made me think of is, you know, watching that Britney Spears documentary a few years ago, like heartbreaking. And I felt ashamed is maybe a drastic word, but I had to do some self-reflection about how I contributed to that girl's downfall as
110%
a fan of, you know, TMZ and paparazzi culture. I was living in LA and watched the live footage the day she went and got her head shaved, right? Like,
oh my gosh.
We're watching it like in real time happen. And like that, I contributed to that, right? Like I fed into like, oh girl, you know, and like the interview she did, I think with Barbara Walters, where she's got like ketchup on her shirt and she's barefoot, you know what I mean? And like her feet are dirty and you're just like, oh girl, like I tuned in, I watched it, right? Like the forced kiss with Madonna on the VMAs, like all of the things, like I was there. And so it made me, watching her documentary really made me take stock of like, you know what? It feels icky. Like I don't want to contribute to the downfall of this young girl. She was a kid when all this happened. And so that also triggered that thought process for me when this came up in Tell Me Lies. I was like, that feels so intentional that their lives are spiraling kind of the way Britney's did. And it was a product often of outside forces, whether it's like achievement culture telling you only matter if you're number one, or, you know, the culture of you have to hook up with somebody and find somebody immediately or you're never going to meet anybody, like the pressure to settle down and find your person and your purpose. Like, did all of those things contribute to these characters having such toxic relationships and being in such a bad place?
Yeah, no, 110%. And to answer your question, yes, that did contribute. I just,
Yeah.
I'm watching the shows, the episodes, and I'm just like, my mom would never let me. Like, I just couldn't imagine. Like, I think of the relationship between Bree and Mary and how she's just unable to go to her mother and to confide in her, or the same with Lucy, how she's holding resentment against her mother. And I'm just like, I could not. And you probably feel the same way with your daughter, is that like,
Yeah.
during college, still today, I'm going to call her. I already called her this morning. I'm going to call her again. I call my mom 2 to 3 times a day. And I'm like, Mom, this is happening to me. This boy did this. Like, I'm so open with her. And especially by the time I got to college, she was at the point where she was like, Jacqueline, I am your mom, but I'm also another woman. I'm going to give you advice. Like, you're not going through this alone. Like, boys have done this for years. Girls have done this for years. Don't make these decisions. If you do make these decisions, you're not a bad person. You just made a mistake. But if you continue on this path, you might be a bad person. So I just couldn't imagine. And the same thing for Britney Spears, just not having that like parent to intervene and to be like, there was never a calming force. And so they would have to like, Wrigley, God bless him, had to be the calming force. And I'm like, he needs his own support. So there's never that adult in the room to be like, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's also what makes the show so uncomfortable yet so addicting to watch, is that you're waiting for like the adult in the room to enter and be like, y'all, you're doing it wrong. Like, I know we're all learning here, but nobody's learning.
Yes.
You just keep doing it wrong. Like, stop. Yeah. And I feel like this is like an interesting time too to bring up this topic that I wanted to get into with you about like pretty privilege, right? Like, I feel like that's a thing, and I feel like the show does a really good job of putting that front and center as well. Like Lucy, the actress that plays Lucy, is Grace Van Patten, and she's gorgeous. She's beautiful in a very traditional sense. You know, I think we're seeing it again now with, you know, the JFK and Carolyn Bessette story. We're sort of all going back to this sort of like, you know, classic, like tall, thin, blonde beauty. And I felt like the casting of Lucy was very deliberate in that way, because she ends up kind of being the ugliest of them all, right? Like, in terms of like starting the show, and when you see her and you just think like, oh, what's this queen going to do when she rules the college, which she obviously will. And she ends up in the worst situation possible, left at a fucking gas station, you know, like for God knows how long.
Have the good snacks at that gas station.
You know, they did not. And the bathroom was dirty. Like, that is what is happening at that gas station. Like, that really, like, that struck me, that you start the show from this place of seeing this like traditionally beautiful gal, and she ends up like the worst of them all. And so I don't know, that felt like some sort of comment on like this idea of pretty privilege and where it actually gets you in the end.
Oh my gosh. And I love that this is a great conversation. I really love that you brought that up, because we all knew, whether it was in high school or in college or in our adult lives, you know, like the pretty girl in the room, and you're like, oh my gosh, she could have it all easy. But often, I'm going to say it, this might be controversial, the prettiest girl's the most like, you know, standard attractive person is like the unhappiest in the room. And I think it's because like, I feel like, because Lucy was working for it, even though she was going downhill. But it's just like the other characters, I guess, like, well, let's not even talk about the show. Just in life, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that if you're not the most beautiful person in the room, you're gonna develop these other parts of yourself as your beauty increases. Like, you naturally get hotter. We all just get hotter as we get older. But if you're starting from a 10, you can only kind of go down, versus if you're starting from a 6, you got to work on everything else to get up to that 10.
I say this all the time. You just hit the nail on the head. I say this to my daughter. I've said it to people out loud, like all the time. If you're a late bloomer, which I was
too, it's better. It's a better experience.
Because you have to develop other things, right? I had to learn, like, what else am I good at? Okay, I'm not going to walk in the room and be the prettiest girl upon initial just visual beauty sight, right? And so what else am I funny? Can I tell a joke? Do I love music
Yes.
and am excited to talk about that? What are my interests? Like I had to think about other things that were going to help me build connections because I couldn't just fall back on being, oh, everybody wants to talk to her because she's so pretty,
Yeah.
right?
No.
And like you said, now, like, yes, I think we are both like women that have come into
Mm-hmm.
our own and know where our assets lie. And that is gone most days. There are still days where I got to be honest, it creeps in. But yeah, I think that that's part of it is you have to develop other aspects of your personality.
110%. And we have to remember she was already in like a long-term relationship, leaving high school,
Mm-hmm.
going into college. When I was in
Right.
college, I hadn't even had my first kiss yet. So like my
Right.
experience and what I was working with, I felt I was a late bloomer. And then I also just naturally progressed a little bit slower than everybody else. So when she's coming in as a freshman, like already talking to Steven, already talking to this guy, dealing from the guy back home, I was like, girlfriend, I was trying to figure out how to like get into the dorm room. Like I was still like way light years behind. And I think that's one thing that I'm really proud of my generation. And what's changing is I think it's okay to be a late bloomer. People aren't like, you need to have
Yes.
this all figured out, super intense, like college experience. People are like, I remember somebody saying like, if high school is the best years of your life, like, then that's really bad.
You
You
peaked too
peak too
early.
early, but now
Yeah.
it's like if college is your prime, you peak too early. Like it
Yeah.
keeps getting delayed, which I love because it just gives everybody more time in our world, and it's also like chill out, everyone. It's not that
Yes.
deep. We can take a beat, we can take a moment, and that's one of the problems in the show is that no one's ever taking a moment. No one's ever. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
one thing after another, which I love. Great to watch, but if I did that in my own life, I would be having a mental breakdown.
You'd be left at a gas
I'd be
station
at
at
a
the
gas
very end
station
with shitty snacks and dirty
in an open back
bathrooms.
dress. Like, queen. And I just can't. And that not photo, that image of him driving away in the G-Wagon, iconic for him. And that's one thing. I love to hate on a man, but I do love a villain that wins. He was
Oh,
awful. He was insane. But I just love the message of he's never gonna change. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's
yeah.
never gonna change. Women, anybody, men, non-binary friends, they're not going to change. You can
They
change.
are not.
They're not going to change.
100% yes. 100% yes. And so I feel like, again, you've set me up perfectly to segue into my picks. So one of the songs that I chose, and this is going to be like, I've got sort of a circular theme happening here, but the first song that I picked that I wanted to call out from the show was an old Robert Palmer song called Addicted to Love, but it is done by Florence and the Machine. And this song plays during the final moments in the end credits of season 1, episode 2, which is an episode titled Hot Blooded from the Foreigner song. Again, as we called out, I love that. For any music fan, one of the greatest Easter eggs of the show is that every episode title is a song lyric or in some cases an album title, but generally a song lyric. And it's so fun to sort of go back and look at all those and see like, oh, that's from a Strokes song. Oh, that's from a Foreigner song. Oh, that's from a Fleetwood Mac song. You know, like it was so cool to me to go back. That's from a Modest Mouse song and like figure out what song lyric, what song that the episode title was from. But this was from episode 2 in season 1. So we're still pretty early in the season. And this is a song when it plays like very end and Lucy is standing in her dorm room and Steven is looking at himself in a mirror.
Yes.
Like going back and watching that, I'm like, all the red flags were here. Like this is season 1, episode 2. They are telling us this man is a narcissist, right? Like he wants to look at himself in the mirror more than anything else. And still we follow him along waiting for this big redemption moment. Or I did. I still had hope all the way until, season 3 that he was going to turn things around. You know, there's a pivotal moment where he makes Lucy record this awful video admitting that she
Insane.
lied about sexual assault that really almost breaks her. And he directs it to the point that, like, you know, when she does her initial version, nope, not sad enough. This is where I get into that humiliation piece that was just like, this guy is an
Yeah.
asshole. Like, anybody that gets off on humiliating another person like this, like, red, the reddest of flags, ladies, run, gentlemen, whoever, like, yes, do not let somebody get off on humiliating you. Not okay.
Yeah.
But like, just, you see, like, like how broken she is, and there's this great moment, you know, at the end. I will get into this sort of as we talk about the end of the show, but there were so many times where I kept thinking he's going to do the right thing, like he is going to turn it around, and he never does.
Thing is nobody's all, like, very few people I truly believe are all bad. You know what I'm saying? So he does have these like moments of light when he helps his sister get out of the home to go to boarding school. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, that's like very deep. And also understanding that he's coming from a narcissistic home with his mother. I forget her name, but the way that she manipulates him and his siblings and the environment. And I mean, like, going to the restaurant and then having the dad with the new baby mama over in the side. And that was absolutely crazy, deranged. And so I think the reason that we're kind of like rooting for him or thinking eventually he's going to do the right thing is because he has these moments of light. And as women, I feel like we have a lot of empathy. And so understanding his background of like, oh, he wasn't set up for success. You know, this is why he's doing it. Well, this is why he's being a bad person. And even though we're not saying we agree with it, we're giving, you know, justification to it, or at least I do, makes you also like, I could see in Lucy's perspective thinking like, oh my gosh, like he's eventually going to get better. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I like to, like, again, that's why I think Addicted to Love was such a fitting song here, because, like, of course, like, addiction in itself is not great. You want to be choosing love. You don't want to be addicted to it. You know, like, you don't want it to be an addiction. And love means different things to different people. Like, I honestly think for a person like Stephen DeMarco, love to him means power and humiliation and manipulation. Like, that's what it means to him, because, you know, based on what you get to see of his family, that's kind of what it looks like he was shown, right? And so there's this part of me that I just think that title is so dangerous on so many levels, because I don't want to be addicted to anything. I want to be choosing it. And love can mean really different things to people that never had a great example of what real love or even self-love looks like. You know what I mean?
Jen, you just hit on so many great points. That was good. That was really good. I wasn't expecting you to pop off that hard. That was really good just then. I love that. Choosing love instead of being addicted to it. I think that is so beautiful, to like choose every moment with a person and to choose to be with them through their like downfalls and like rises. But instead you're addicted to just that like adrenaline rush or that dopamine release or like the one moment of like validation someone gives you. I think that's really beautiful. Also, Florence and the Machine, I saw her perform live in the Bay Area. That woman is an absolute fairy, just a fairy. She was running around barefoot, singing at the top of her lungs. I didn't realize, and correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't realize the machine was her voice. I always thought it was the band. I didn't realize
the band
that she was well, there's different like drummers and things like that, and her title rep the voice, and that's also iconic. And so I just love that artist as well. Like, really great pick.
Same. Like, this is not hyperbole. Like, her concerts are a cathartic
they're life-changing.
Like, tears, like, and I am so ready for this new tour coming out. It was funny. My friend Kelly and I are like, because we went to see the last tour together, and we're just like forever changed. My daughter was with us. Like, we cried. We both brought our girls. Like, it was insane. She's an amazing performer. Shout out to Florence and the Machine. If you've not seen her live, you are missing out. She is, even if you're not a huge fan, like, her live show is just iconic,
and I love that
amazing.
She has hits during the time period of the show. Like, I feel like Florence and the
Yeah.
Machine got popular in 2008, and then she kind of not faded
Yeah.
off. Florence, I hope you're doing great. I know you don't need my approval, but she doesn't have as many songs coming out towards the end of the show, like around that 2015 era.
Right, right. And, I think that, I think originally this version of Addicted to Love was on her Lungs album, which was like the first big one. So yeah, it is. It was fun to sort of see the beginning and see people like catching on to her. And then, you have this great moment where CHVRCHES sort of features in. You'll see that I pull them in for one of my later tracks, but they do a cover of Addicted to Love in the season 3 premiere. So I also
A
love
little
that they
circle
kind of
back.
tied all that. Yeah, we got a little circle back there. For my second pick, for where we kind of land in the show, I do my last 2 picks. I did kind of center them down to season 3, but I picked a song called "The Good Times Are Killing Me" by Modest Mouse, and Modest Mouse is a band that I really love. I think that they're so clever lyrically. They also put on a great live show, but this appears in season 3, episode 6, as Pippa and Wrigley sort of wake up in the morning, and Wrigley's looking at a photo of Bree. And so I think you have like one of the strongest friendships, actual real friendships in the show to me is that of Wrigley and Pippa, right? You sort of see like she carries him through some really hard times. And Wrigley was one of those characters in the beginning. I'm like, this guy is a dipshit. This guy is a joker. I do not like this guy. Some life happened to him. And Wrigley kind of ends up being the king at the end of the show. Like Wrigley's the one I'm rooting for.
I'm a Wrigley stan. I really appreciate and we see this kind of growth happen in men, or at least I do in my life, where it's like something happens to them, something really devastating. Spoiler alert, his brother died, and he was like a big cause of it, or not cause, but associated with it.
Yeah.
And it completely changes them. Like, I couldn't imagine losing my sibling, but it does, like, when life happens to you, it does make you a little bit softer. It makes you more understanding. And I think as a viewer, that's why all the characters are so like not enticing to me, but so interesting to watch. It's because, I've been through some stuff. You've been through some stuff. And so when you see that, you're like, it's bad, but I can see why it happened. Like, why you acted that way.
And you're happy to see the growth, where there's a character like Steven that that just gets more vile as you watch. And then a character like Wrigley where you see growth, right? And I think, that's the difference between somebody growing. Like I always, when I'm having talks with my daughter, we talked about this, like he ain't going to change, right? Like somebody who's like exhibiting red flags early is not going to change, but people can grow. And the best thing that you can do is know the difference between the two, right? Like know the difference between someone who is stuck in a pattern that they're never going to change because they feel entitled, or because they've gotten away with it for so long, or because they don't know any better, whatever the case, and people that have the capacity for growth. And I think that that's a hard thing to figure out, right? That's a hard thing to learn as a young woman, or young man even. Like I think it's just a challenging thing to be. And I love that the show really put a spotlight on that. Like who is actually a red flag toxic person, and who is somebody who just like needs to grow a little bit. And I think Wrigley just is the perfect example about that. I think he's great. I loved. And I think that, Bree and Wrigley didn't get there via a perfect path, but they're the couple I was rooting for. The Pippa and Diana and Wrigley and Bree are the two that I'm like, everybody else can go and lead a sad, sad life because you're bad people. But those 4, I'm like, I want you 4 to like go forth and do well.
I agree.
Like,
when Diana looks at Pippa and it's like, we gotta go, I was like, yes. Leave. You don't deserve to be here anymore. You've paid your time. You've done your dues. Like, get out of here.
And Pippa's so on board too. Pippa's like, oh yeah, we are piecing out. Bye. Yes. These people are bad. All right. Before we move on to the last track, there is one other character that I feel like we would be remiss if we did not talk about. He appeared this season in season 3, but can we talk about Alex, Bree's like brother from the foster home situation that ends up, hooking up with Lucy until he kind of discovers she's just a downward spiral in real time. So I'm like, good guy, bad guy. Like, where are you landing on him?
I think, and maybe okay, I would love to hear your opinion on this. I think hooking up in the friend group does make you a bad guy. I mean, I know Wrigley did it, and we can give him a pass. Okay, he grew from it, and he always had his eye on one person, so I will give him that. I do not think you should walk into a new space and hook up with people. That's my personal opinion, but I would love to hear your thoughts.
Okay. I think that I liked Bree's intention of like, yeah, this guy's kind of a messed up. He's a drug dealer. Not great. We don't love that. But I think, her knowing that at the end of the day, he was kind of a genuine guy, but also, that's something I question. Like, did Bree know? You get the hint that he was likely sexually abused at some point, and so that's why he has such a low tolerance for, Lucy putting out this, like making this up, even though we know she didn't really make it up. She was talking about Pippa, like all of these complicated things. But yeah, I don't know. He was a character that I left feeling a little bit, confused by. Like I kind of wanted one more season with him, maybe. I felt like I didn't get enough time to figure him out, but I liked that he was there. I liked that he was sort of a safe place for Bree. I liked that when, Lucy came busting down his door and these like dark moments of desperation, that he sends her away and takes care of Bree. It just kind of that cemented to me that, it's true connections do mean something to this guy. And that's kind of a test of a good guy to me.
And I also think that's the testament of a good drug dealer. Like human connection. No, let's talk about it. And also, guys,
you can count on him.
Dealing cocaine and weed. I don't do cocaine, but I have met a couple of weed drug dealers in my day, and they are nice people. Yes. We do not need to be shaming drug dealers. I get it was 2008 and like weed was the worst thing in the world, but I'm like, we're so far beyond that. So I do think they can be like, oh my God, he deals drugs. I'm like, weed? He sells weed. He's an entrepreneur.
Right. I think too, it also spoke to that moment in time when like Adderall was coming in and like the anxiety meds and like, are they helping our kids? Are they hurting our kids? Are we, are they fake tools? Are they real tools? Like, I think there's so much richness there to get into but I think you're right. I like that it was like not, like nobody once said like, oh my gosh, you can't date him. He's a drug dealer. They were all just like, yeah, that's his job.
Let him live. Let him make his coin. And he did, once again, we kind of talked about it previously, but because like, he is like, living life. He's been through some stuff. It makes him more empathetic. But once again, guys, if you're going to college, if you're starting a new job, don't hook up within the first like 3 to 6 months. Give it some time to simmer. Let's scope the scene out before you go out with a condom.
Before you go hard in.
No, literally.
Literally. All right, we're going to round it out with a pretty obvious pick, but I'm like, I don't think we could have this playlist without having this song. So, of course, our final song on our Tell Me Lies focus track playlist this week has to be Such Great Heights by CHVRCHES. I think that this is, again, one of those full circle moments. The song Such Great Heights appears multiple times actually throughout the show. It is in season 1, episode 6. The original version by the Postal Service is when we first hear this song. And I love this, again, like the Easter eggs were amazing in this show, but I love this because it plays during a college party. And the other thing too, can we talk about how many freaking theme parties they have? I'm like, I did not go to a theme party in college, and every party they go to is a theme party.
I was thinking that too. I was like, I could not rally the way that people were rallying in 2008. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. Also, I don't know if you experienced this. Because I went to University of San Francisco, go Dons, best college in the world if you're looking at going to a university. It was a small private school in San Francisco, but we didn't have frats. There were no house parties.
Yes.
So we always had to go to the city to like clubs, to go dancing, to go drinking. Okay. And so that also just gives like a different element of that. I'm like, oh my gosh, some people are very much having that like traditional, big school or even like just a school with like frats and houses, like party kind of scene.
Yes. that super big like Greek
Yes.
culture, which you
Mhm.
get is a big part of Baird College, this fictitious college. But yes, they're at a costume party that's an anything but
An
clothes party.
ABC.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so Lucy and Steven show up wearing matching garbage bag costumes, which again, like now that the show has come full circle, you're like, yes, they are trash people. So it makes sense that they're doing this. But I also too love that this is sort of a nod, and I don't know if you'll pick up on this or not. This is me being like a super duper old school pop culture nerd, but the first time I heard this song was from a movie called Garden State.
Ooh, tell me more.
And the one sheet for Garden State, the poster for Garden State has Natalie Portman, Zach Braff, and one of the other main characters. I can't even remember who it is. Maybe Peter Sarsgaard. I'm not sure. All standing on like a yellow truck wearing trash bags and screaming. And so I'm so curious again, maybe this is revealed in the official podcast, but I'm like, oh, was this also like a nod to Garden State? That they're wearing trash bags and da, da, da. I mean, again, I think there are so many like metaphors here, like simply them being wearing trash bags because they're trash people is like enough of a metaphor for me. But I was curious. I'm like, I wonder if this is also like a little nod to
Yeah, I
Garden
did not
State.
catch that. But when I thought about it, it's just like, when you're going out with a guy and he's just putting no effort in, and it's like, okay, we're going to put the trash bags on for the ABC party.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you could at least put a little effort in, get the toilet paper rolls. Right. So I just thought it was like a lack of effort, but that makes 110% more sense.
Yeah, no, both though. I think it's all true, and then it sort of wraps up. We hear the song there the first time in its original version, and then season 3, the series finale, this sort of synth pop, version by CHVRCHES comes on in the final moments, and it plays as Lucy leaves with Steven, only for him to strand her at the gas station we've already spoken of, where she's seen just laughing as the song closes out the show. And I thought that was a really interesting choice too, to just have her like completely break into hysterical laughter once she realizes that he has left her. Because I was astonished that she went with him. I thought even when I saw her running out the door, I thought she's going to like trick him into thinking like she's going to go with him and she's going to read him the riot act. So again, till the very end, the literal last seconds of the show, I am thinking these people are going to change, and nope.
No,
they don't.
I didn't think she was going to change. I was like, but I didn't think she was going to get left. So that was what was shocking to me. No, I think about just her being at that gas station. I just think her laughing about it, because it is funny at the end of the day. And that's another thing. I think that's why she's laughing. It's because no matter how abusive a relationship is, how toxic it is, when you're looking back at it from a 2020 perspective, it was like, oh, that was insane. Like, you have to laugh or you're going to cry. And I feel like she just really embodied that, like, oh my God, like, this is insane. And now I recognize it.
Do you think it's the final straw? Like, do you think she's finally,
I think
like,
so.
If he comes knocking again?
I think I'm always rooting all things women, but I think because you can come back from a lot of things, as we've seen in this show. You can come back from cheating. You can come back from forced videos. You can come back from lies and manipulation and like everything, ruining relationships. You can't come back from being left at a gas station. Like, truly, there is no, what is she going to say at this point? Like, he had to go poop. Like, what is he going to say? Like, there was no reason for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, not reason, but there was just like, he's going to cut you no matter what.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because the one, I alluded to this in the beginning when we first started recording, but the one clip I did see from the official podcast was when they were talking to Megan Oppenheimer about the end of the show. And she was talking about Steven being a scorpion. And I was like, what? I don't understand. And so she was telling the story of the fable of like the frog and the scorpion, which briefly is like there are a frog and a scorpion sitting on a riverbank. And the scorpion says to the frog, like, hey, I can't swim. So can I ride on your back to get to the other side of the river? And the frog's like, no way. You're a scorpion. You're going to sting me. And the scorpion's like, no, I'm not. If I sting you, then we both drown. Like I just need to ride to the other side of the riverbank. And the frog's like, okay, hop on. So the scorpion gets on the frog's back, and they get halfway to the other side of the riverbank, and the scorpion stings the frog. And as they both start to drown, the frog's like, now we're both going to die. Why did you do that? And the scorpion says, because I'm a scorpion.
Oh my God. That just gave me chills. Like, that was good.
Well, and it totally reminds me too, another, like a funnier version is like in one of Chris Rock's stand-ups, he's talking about Siegfried and Roy and like the tiger went tiger, right? Like we say that all the time in my house, like whenever the tiger attacked, I can't remember if it was Siegfried or Roy. And they're like, why are people surprised? Like the tiger didn't go crazy. The tiger went tiger. Like that's what tigers do. Like, and so it's like, he's a scorpion, right? Like we should have never expected him to do anything less than what a scorpion would do. And he wanted to win. He proved it through 3 seasons of the show that winning was the most important thing to him. And so I really I don't think the show could have ended.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I really don't.
A scorpion is a scorpion. That is so true. Like, what else is he going to do? Is he going to just love her and give her everything that she needs? No. And I think she never expected that of him. I think that when it was almost comforting to her when he left, because it's like, okay, the reality that I have been in has been absolutely insane, but it's insane because he is a scorpion. It's not insane because of me. Like maybe I've done things to contribute to it, but she has a complete clear picture, and I hope she's laughing because she felt that clarity.
Same. That was my takeaway too, is I'm like, I hope she's laughing because she finally realized he's a scorpion. And you know what? We don't. Scorpions.
You can't. You're not going to get across the river.
They're not safe.
You're not going to make it.
You're not. They're going to sink you both before they stop trying to win. And so chef's kiss to Tell Me Lies. I think that it was a phenomenal show, no matter how toxic and dark it got. It was definitely a pop culture candy to chew on. And I think if you give it a chance, has some of these deep themes that you and I have talked about today. It's not just a surface show. I think there was a lot going on. I think it was really well written. I think the characters are complex. I think that there is growth. There's a lack of growth. There's something for everybody. So shout out to Hulu's Tell Me Lies. It definitely provided 3 seasons of greatness. And shout out to you, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for joining me. I had such a good time with you on the show.
This was the best. We should do this again.
I would love to. And also I'm super excited about this new segment. I really would love to have you back soon for another pop culture candy. What series do you think we could do next? What would be another good one? We should think about it.
That is a great question. Let me really marinate.
We'll have to ruminate. Yeah, let's ruminate on that, and then we'll also.
I was about to say, this is crazy. It's because I want to watch it. Have you seen the new Tyra Banks documentary?
Oh, no.
That would be a good one. That would be a good
one. That's got to be. I mean, it sounds like she is just deflect. So, okay, maybe we have it. I'm like, listeners, weigh in. DM me at JennJenn1020. That's JENNJENN1020 on Instagram. And let us know what show we should feature next on Pop Culture Candy. And while you're online, please be sure to follow, download, and share this show. And if you love listening, drop a review on Apple or Spotify for us. And I will be back again next week with an all new episode. Until then, to stay informed on all things Super Awesome Mix and what are you listening to, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Super Awesome Mix. Thanks for listening, and please join me again next week to find your new favorite song.